All right, let's get started and create the UVs for our box of gum. So, as I said before, when you're in body paint and you decide to use the little wizard here, it's going to show, let me scroll down a little bit, all of the objects in our scene that can have UVs applied. Let's go and take a quick look at our standard viewport, and you see we have the treetops, the plane, the treetops, the trunk, and the gum box. So if you do have a whole bunch of stuff in your scene, instead of, let me go back to this guy again, instead of deselecting one at a time to get the one you want, an easy way is to use these handy dandy selection buttons. So I'll deselect everything and I can choose what I want. And that's why naming things is so important, because I want the gum box. I'll click on the X and now it's enabled and it says selected one. So we have one object selected. Now what I want to do is hit next, and then we're going to have body paint create our textures for us, our UVs. So this is the UV setup. We're going to have it recalculate the UV because there are none on there anyway. And we're going to leave everything at the defaults. All right, so we're going to have optimal cubic mapping. I'll hit next. And now we can decide what different textures we want to paint. Now, as I mentioned earlier, once we start painting, if you look over here, we see we have a C here. This is because if you look here, the color is selected. The C corresponds, of course, so when we paint, this is the color channel. If we want to add diffusion to break up the color, we can choose that. And any other parameters you want to paint. So I'm going to choose diffusion, and I'm going to choose specular, because don't forget, I have these kickers back here that are going to respond to specular. I don't want any bump on the box, and I don't want any displacement. I think those options will be fine, and I'm going to increase my texture size to 2048, just so it's a lot more crisp. And that's going to do the trick. So let's go ahead and say finished, and we can close this box. Now, if we are to take a look at what we have, I'm going to go to the texture tab, and this is the UV that was generated for us. All right, the box has been split open, and these, of course, are the sides. I'm going to grab my brush, and just like before, we can do a little test if we want to. We can go ahead and paint on our UVs, and we can see what's what. And let's go ahead and take a look over here. Here's our color, here's our specular, and here's our diffusion. And all we have to do to paint on any of these channels is to do just what I'm doing here. You click on it, and you can then paint on that channel. I'm going to do a quick test, go to view, and we see that we're painting on the front of the box, and I hope you guys can see that. I'm going to go ahead and turn off that light. I'm going to turn the physical sky off so it's a little easier to see. And now you see that little squiggle there. So we know right away that this is going to be the front of our box. So if we want to, we can of course go right here and undo that. So we can come here and we can say front, and we can put a little arrow so we know that's the top, or we can do it over here as well in our viewport. So I can go ahead and change that if I want to and type or write where I want the front to be. And I could put an arrow like this and like this so I know which way to paint the textures. And once again, we can see those in our viewport. Now all we have to do is get the outline to show up so we can export this and bring it into our Illustrator or whatever application you want to use. But once again, in this case, I'm going to show you how we can go ahead and manipulate an Adobe Illustrator file so that things fit. And we can do that by heading over to our layer menu, and we can say create UV mesh layer. And now we have our outlines, and now we can easily export this. So I'm going to go to File, Save Texture. I'm going to choose, in this instance, I think I will go with a JPEG because I want to go to Illustrator. I'll hit OK. And on my desktop, I'm going to call this gum. And I'll go ahead and put another underscore, box, color. Save it. And we're ready to go. So in the next lesson, I'm going to meet you guys in Illustrator. If you don't have Illustrator, once again, you can just follow along and watch how this is done. And then we're going to bring this texture back. And after that, we're going to paint our mountain.